a line from John Hamm or Paul Marks in episode 9, where he mentions that helping Alex is an attempt to pay off karmic debts. What are some of the debts that Alex is trying to absolve herself from in this season?
Oh my gosh. What are some of her karmic debts? Where do I don't know. Oh gosh. What are my karmic debts?
I mean, are you complicit with some stuff that happened at the network when Mitch was there?
Sure.
There's a question mark there.
Questionable.
Was it okay that he was a married guy?
You know, maybe it was a different time, is the way she justifies it in her brain.
Yeah, so there's some karma there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. So that.
Yeah, yeah.
We can finish each other's sentences at this point.
Perfect.
Oh my God.
Perfect. And then for you, Reese, Bradley is back, but where we meet her in season 4 is going to be so different from where we're left with her by the end. If she had a mission statement, what would it be?
Well, I think she's one of those people that can't leave well enough alone. Like she could be fine, and then she gets this story tip, and she's just even though she's made a deal with the feds to stay in their good graces, she goes back to the network, and she starts chasing a story again. And she could just be fine. And she sometimes I just want to scream at her.
Just go, what? Snap out of it.
Snap out of it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy your calm life. But she always wants to pursue a story because she has that sense of justice. We all have a friend who's like, no, but it's not right.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So true.
I feel like Bradley would be an Aquarius.
Oh, you're an Aquarius,
I'm
aren't
an
you?
Aquarius.
Interesting.
Is that what is it, the Pisces with the scale?
Oh, that's Libra.
No,
That's
the
Libra.
Yeah. So yeah,
But yes, but Aquarians are very about justice.
Yes,
doing the right thing.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And then just lastly, for both of you, I was screaming at the TV when watching the screeners as well for both of your characters, but they kind of sort of hold a mirror up to one another, if you will. In what ways do you feel like Bradley always needs Alex and Alex always needs Bradley?
Oh, they do. They do need each other. They do have they anchor each other in some way.
I think that ultimately this whole show is about the power of female friendships. That things come and go in your life, but if you have that one solid friend that you can tell everything to, be vulnerable with, get in nasty fights with, that you're still good at the end of the day. I think that's kind of the journey we're on.
Yeah. 100%.
There is a turning point for Mia in this season when, she's realizing that she's reaching out for help or support and she's trying to cash in on promises made to her. But she realizes that the only person that she can depend on is herself.
Right.
How does that inform her why throughout season 4 of the morning show?
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we as women, not just Black women, but as women reached out for support, for love and care, and, came back with insufficient funds, honey? I mean, many, many times. So I think it's a reflection of her great resilience, the great writing of the morning show that allows us to know that there are multitudes that exist in this character. I feel... it's a great privilege. It's a great honor to represent women of color in television news industry. But I also think what the morning show does well is that we tell an authentic and truthful and real story about what that journey looks like. It's entertaining, but hopefully it gets people talking, right? Them having the conversation about what that looks like. So.
Yeah, and my favorite is just like she's like letting loose when she like in that hallway scene when she's like with her girlfriend and they just are like that's one of my favorite scenes. And so she's also reclaiming her time again like to the next level. But how would you say her shift in power dispels that tendency to play it safe, which leads to more freedom?
Well, I think that's part of that conversation that she has with Chris. People don't stop loving you because you do something wrong, especially if you own it, right? And I think this is Mia understanding for herself. Being a woman at UBN, I think for many seasons we have seen Mia not own herself, own her journey. And now she's taking people to task for it. She takes Greta to task, not Greta, but Stella. She takes Alex Levy to task for it. And it is an honest reflection of her own journey that she says, I'm not messing around anymore. It's reflected in her costume change. I mean, she's walking around in red, with some
Yes.
red bottom shoes on. We might as well be playing Bodak Yellow, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or Cardi B, with Mia prowling the halls of UBN, or, in a posture of it's time for things to change. And so, it's been a fun journey. I'm so blessed and gifted to be able to walk this journey, especially with the writers, Charlotte, Mimi, and our incredible cast.
Yeah, and then just lastly, Karen, also with Mia and Chris, we see a shift in their dynamic, but it speaks to the larger story of sisterhood that I feel like the morning show tells.
Absolutely.
Talk to me just about the importance of sisterhood, even when we're, clawing for the same things.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that glamour cover that we have. In the middle of it is us all leaning into each other, but also it's me gripping my friend Nicole Bahari's hand. It was very important to me. There's no room for clap back and negative innuendo, gossip between people who are really aiming to go higher. And I think that that's part of what Mia stands for on the show. She's ruthless in it now, but I think in many ways she stands for what she's always stood for, which is maintaining a moral compass and integrity in all matters. And so, again, it's just a great journey a great privilege to be on this journey with all of these actors and with the morning show.
Yanko is having an interesting season. And so, speaking of Yanko, what would you say is his mission statement for season 4 of the morning show?
That's a great question, Shanique. I think for him, it's all about trying to find the I don't know if it's true love, but he's having to choose between two different kinds of love: a deeply passionate one that is very mercurial, that can burn you at certain times with Claire, and then he's having one that feels a bit more pragmatic. There's still love there and there's still intimacy, and so I think for him it's just trying to figure out like what's right, what's the right choice. Is there a right choice? Either way, it's a difficult one, and that's what I love about what Charlotte Stout and the writers have done is introduce this dilemma that if you're lucky enough to fall in love multiple times, and with those two different kinds of love specifically, what is the right path for you? And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to ask a few questions, and feel free to speak freely because I'll hold some of the interviews. I've seen
Okay.
9 of the episodes.
Okay, great.
But there's a line from John Hamm, who plays Paul Marks in episode 9, where he mentions helping Alex is an attempt to pay off karmic debts. Is there a karmic debt that you believe Yanko is trying to absolve himself from by helping Claire and perhaps even proposing to his fiance in a way?
Oh, it's a really good question. Is there any karma there? I think with Yanko, I think he felt he left on pretty good terms with Claire. I think he felt he did. I think he felt misunderstood by her when he attended Mitch Kessler's funeral, when she found out. That's sort of like the beginning of the end for them. And I think that's where, they had different sort of worldviews on issues like that. He was able to separate the man from his deeds at that moment. They had a lot of history together, so he felt, and that was the beginning of a split between him and Claire. It wasn't the real reason, but it was one of the reasons. So I don't know if karma came into it, because I think he still was madly in love with her, even as she left him, which is why I think the decision he has, to make in the end between these two women is so brutal for Yanko, because he's so torn, by these two different kinds of love. So I don't know if karma, played a factor in his decision. And certainly in the end, he ends up really fighting for both women, and for both of their futures. So I think if anything, he's forgiven her for leaving him and for breaking his heart in the way that she did.
Yeah, and then lastly, really quickly here, in episode 8, the last thing that Yanko says to Bradley is that he'll never sit at the desk with her
Yeah.
again. Will we see him regret those words by that final 10th episode?
I think, yeah, I think you'll see, without spoiling it, I think you'll see some developments in Bradley's storyline that will change a lot of people's minds, and including Yanko's. You'll see how, you say things in a moment, and genuinely so. I think he was right to do that. And then you see somebody in a vulnerable position, and it's extraordinary how that'll change. It will change your viewpoint and how you feel about somebody. And I'm trying to dance around spoilers here,
Yeah,
but
no, it's fine. It is almost as if every woman in Corey's life is manipulating him at some point this season. How does that showcase a more human side of this character that we haven't seen before on the morning show?
That's a great question. I think it's fair for Corey, whose vocabulary is manipulation. He does it in a pretty grand way, on a pretty grand scale often. So it would make sense that the people who occupy his personal life understand the vocabulary that he uses. That being said, I don't think he saw himself in a position of vulnerability where the kind of manipulation that takes place was within his purview. So that does something really interesting. Takes somebody with all the confidence in the world and completely pulls the world out from under them. And so what are they like in those circumstances? And we get to see a little bit of it in this season.
Yeah, and that vulnerability that he displays has made him my number one so far.
I
in
appreciate
this
that. Thank you. Well, tell the writers, and maybe they'll write more for me in season 5 if there's one.
Yes, yes. And then for you, Mark, and feel free to speak freely because I'll hold some of these interviews
Okay.
for when we get further in the season.
Mhm.
But there's a line from John Hamm, who plays Paul Marks in episode 9, where he mentions that helping Alex is an attempt to pay off karmic debts.
Mm.
Is there a karmic debt that Chip is trying to absolve himself from by helping Bradley uncover this major cover up at UBN, perhaps?
Yeah, it's an interesting season for Chip because he is, finally free from UBN, and he's just this independent documentary film producer with a more relaxing lifestyle. But he finds himself drawn back in through this conspiracy that he discovers with Bradley Jackson. And as to why does Chip feel so deeply compelled to get this right? I think there are some karmic debts from the past, not the least of which is you go all the way back to season 1 and you look at Chip, who tried his best to do right as the leader of that ship, but really fell asleep a little bit on that watch, with the whole Mitch conspiracy. And I think that some of the things he's discovering along with Bradley were things that did also occur under his watch when he was back there. And I think he wants to get it right this time. And I think that now we see he's got such intense personal relationships with these people involved, with not only with Alex, but with Bradley as well, who he spends a lot of time with this season. So it's not only the moral and ethical thing to do, he's very personally invested in getting this right. So what starts out as, hey, I'm just an indie, documentary producer, this shouldn't be as stressful, actually becomes one of the more stressful and involved storylines for him by the end of it.